Sorry,
Okay, I'll just suggest that we'll deal with technical difficulties as we go. Okay, Mary? So, welcome everybody. I hope you've had a good past month. This is the Gualala Municipal Advisory Council regular monthly meeting. I think it's our 8th straight month of holding a virtual meeting now. So we're getting a track record on that. I think we've got everybody on the screen as to who's attending. Welcome, Sheriff Matt Kendall. And we'll get to the law enforcement report down the road here, down the agenda. But as always, we start off with introductions and announcements to those that are also in the audience. If there's anybody else,
JD Comer.
Okay, so I'm Robert Young, the chair. Then there's the other council members, and we have Mary Mobert, our administrative secretary. Vice chair is Tom Murphy. Don Hess is our council member, and then Melissa Finley for the audience's behalf here. So any announcements? Okay, hearing none. Consent agenda. I think we should probably still break it up a little bit, but I'll defer to the council members. We've got a couple of things we should address here. So why don't we just break it up? Approval of minutes from October 1st. Any last minute concerns, or can one of the council members make a motion?
Move to approve minutes.
Okay. Anyone want a second?
I'll second that.
Don will second. Okay. So why don't we take a voice vote then on approval of the minutes? I'll start with Melissa.
Aye.
Okay, Don.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
And myself, Robert. Aye. Okay, so we'll have approval of the October 1st meeting minutes. Thank you, Mary, for producing those and any assistance that was provided by us others, okay? Correspondence. You'll note on the agenda, we have a Caltrans email that we received, and that has to do with the streetscaping town hall meeting that has been postponed or put into the new year. That meeting date will be the 14th of January, 2021. So we're just acknowledging that we received that correspondence. We can discuss it a little bit further when we get down to council matters under 6B, if that's all right with everyone. Okay. I had a call yesterday from this is just another correspondence thing. It's a verbal correspondence that I had. The neighbor of the coastal development permit application that Tom and I handled last month called me. And it's the one right below the subject piece, Tom, where I think Don asked something about, are the trees staying at the bottom of this property and all that. Anyway, the point being is that they stated that they did not receive any correspondence or were not notified by the county on this coastal development permit application. So I explained to the neighbor that we did handle it at the GMAC level. We did review the application, and we sent off a letter to the county addressing our concerns, and that they should talk to the county building and planning department. So I just wanted to know you guys to know that I did that. Okay. Any questions on that? Or apparently the coastal development permit didn't show usually there's a list of addresses for all the neighbors. I went back through the CDP just this morning and I didn't see that included in the packet. So maybe they did forget to send out notification to the neighbors, but I told the neighbor to go ahead and call the county and then address her comments with the county direct. Okay, So moving on, approval of tonight's agenda. Does anybody see anything that needs to be changed or edited, or can we approve it as written?
Mr. Chairman, I would just want to note that I did correspond with you as the chairman of the council, and that you'll be taking that matter up in the streetscape discussion item 6B. But that's
Okay,
where that correspondence went.
And that's regarding the private citizen letter that I was sent, right? Or you sent the council members? Or
Correct. It has to do with a petition having to do with streetscape. Okay,
yeah, I acknowledge receiving that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more under 6B. Okay.
In that case,
can we have a motion on? Oh,
I
okay, go ahead, sorry.
move to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second on that from anyone?
I'll second that.
Okay, Don, thank you. We'll take a voice vote on approving tonight's agenda. Melissa?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And myself, Robert? Aye. Okay, moving right along. Number 3 on the agenda, we have public input on non-agenda items. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on something that's not on our agenda tonight?
We have no audience members at this point.
Nobody in the audience? I see Matt and one other person.
That's Lieutenant Comer.
Oh, Lieutenant Comer, hi. Okay. Okay, so we'll wait until we get to the next item then. So we have no comments, no public comments on non-agenda items. Moving on to number 4, Mendocino County Law Enforcement. Welcome, Matt. You have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. So this evening, Lieutenant Comer is going to be on with us. I'm in Ukiah, and he's over on the coast tonight. We are continuing to work on some pretty darn big cases in Mendocino County, a lot of very violent stuff. As a matter of fact, we're kind of up to our elbows in one right now. It's too early to talk about it, but it'll eventually start coming out. So we're moving some deputies. Right now, the coast is looking pretty good. We've got the 2 who just graduated from the police academy, and we had that swearing in a couple of weeks ago. We were able to promote Lieutenant Comer. I'm going to ask him to speak about these things specifically on the coast, but we're going to be moving some personnel over there to assist him in supporting his command. The COVID stuff, right now in Mendocino County, I'm looking up the numbers that I received. Currently, we've got 68 in home isolation. We've got 3 that are hospitalized, 0 in intensive care. Released from isolation, which is great, is 1,121 people. Terrible part is we have had 21 deaths for a total cases of 1,213. Now, the good news is by region, the South Coast has only had 23 cases, which means that you're doing it better down there. And the South County itself, Philo, Boonville, Yorkville, they're at 44. North County is at 122. North Coast is at 109. And then Ukiah Valley is at 915. And so I think that a lot of the things going on specifically in the South Coast, we've been doing an excellent job, and I mean the community, of taking this seriously and continuing that mask up and continuing to use good practices, the things that Dr. Dune and Dr. Korn have pushed out to us. That's serving as well. We've got a couple of things going on. We've got one of the canines that the sheriff's office had that has some water on its lungs. It had an issue with some type of a foxtail or something. And so currently we're down one of these canines at a time where we really don't want to be, because we know that we're going to be stepping into armed robbery season, especially in the north as things begin to progress in marijuana cultivation and harvesting up here. We've got a lot of illegal grows, and they are kind of like a bug light for the bad guys. It's a moth to a flame right now. And so we're paying extra attention to that. We have had some traffic complaints continuing, especially just south of Point Arena. And then we had a vehicle that was abandoned out on Port Road, you know, things like that. Those are the little things, but we've got to stay on top of them or it's going to get bigger. I'll ask Lieutenant Comer to discuss what he's been dealing with over the last week or 10 days.
Yes, thanks, Sheriff. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Um, Good evening.
Good
So
evening.
I'll just start with the South Coast and specifically the Gualala area. What I know of the problems that are occurring down there most frequently within the last couple months, which one would be the traffic and the speeding and that commonly occurs on Old State Road. Outside of that, along with the Gualala River and illegal camping or whatnot, that's really all the major complaints that we've had down there in the recent months. And it's my intention moving forward here as a very big priority to make sure that we provide a presence down on the South Coast, specifically all the way to Gualala, as much as possible, and more frequent than you have probably seen. And that would be more in tune to daytime. I know we're down there a lot during the nighttime for night shift. That seems to be the blunt of our calls for service on the South Coast, but definitely trying to get more of a presence during the daytime. So I'm open to any questions to field and try to give you guys any answers specific that of problems that I might not be aware of, but to my knowledge in your area, that's kind of what I see. I can move up to Point Arena a little bit because, I mean, it's basically one solid community. And the problems there is the drug trafficking and drug use. I'm hearing a lot of, and I'll be coordinating with other agencies as well as other units within the sheriff's office to try to address those issues as we move forward. COVID related, I would agree with the sheriff that COVID complaints, I've heard rarely any coming from Gualala or the South Coast in general. So I think you guys are definitely, the community's doing a good job there. But with that said, is there any questions that I could take or answer any questions that you guys might have, or ladies?
Yeah, Lieutenant Comer?
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned Old Stage Road and some speeding issues along that road. Have you had any complaints about Pacific Woods Road? Because I live on Pacific Woods and I do notice this happening from time to time, and also some vehicles that are just extremely loud. I don't know what kind of mufflers they have, but they're almost like race cars. And not only that, I'm kind of wondering whether that speed limit is appropriate for Pacific Woods Road, 40 miles an hour. You may recall that, I believe it was last summer, there was a fatal accident on Pacific Woods Road.
Yeah, just a couple months ago. You're correct on that. And I believe that was a DUI related crash.
A DUI, so who knows whether they were speeding or not, but I do think with the curves and everything that possibly 40 miles an hour is a little bit too much.
Right. And as far as the speed limit goes, in order to change the speed limit, of course, Caltrans would have to basically do a speed survey on that area. That takes time. And sometimes that works for the better. Sometimes it doesn't, because they end up taking the average. I mean, ultimately that could raise the speed limit. You never know. I've seen that backfires, especially up here in Fort Bragg. I have not heard of any complaints directly to the sheriff's office or other community members about Pacific Woods. It's usually up on the ridge up there on Old Stage Road. And I think a lot of it comes from Gualala Court and, the Fast and the Furious bunch that are in the area. But I can tell you this is, if that is occurring and people that are affected by it, to either contact me directly by email or call the Sheriff's Dispatch Center, and we will address the issue. In the next couple weeks, I'll be meeting with all the agency commanders and supervisors on the coast. And we're going to bring all these problems to the table and come up with a common solution that we can work together to address them as a larger team on the coast. So when it comes to speeding and stuff like that, I know CHP has units on fairly frequently on the South Coast, and having that information will help dial them in on those specific areas. So if they are current, we just need to know where it's happening at mostly.
So are you saying it would be helpful to have multiple people, neighbors along a particular road, file complaints?
It doesn't take multiple people, but definitely we need to hear somebody's voice to guide us in the right direction, right? You know, we want to address those issues definitely, but if a community member comes forward and says, hey, this is what's occurring here, it's ongoing, then we got some place to look and focus on and try to alleviate that pressure that everybody's feeling with whatever the cause is. And so definitely it can take one, it can take two, it could be several, but all it takes is one. I'll listen to one voice and I'll listen to 10.
And the other thing when it comes to speed studies and whatnot, Don, I mean, honestly, if you think someone is speeding and the speed limit is 40, chances are they're doing a lot faster than 40. And speed limit signs, things like that, the speed studies, they're fine. But what it takes to get people to slow down is actually just a constant presence and enforcement. And think back, we were all young guys at one point. When we heard that 3 of our buddies just got a citation on this road, guess what we did when we hit that road? I mean, word travels fast in a small town. And so, you know, just a little bit of enforcement really changes people's behavior, because especially with the young fellows who really want to drive like that, when they rack up 2 and 3 tickets, what happens is, you know, then their insurance jumps up or their parents' insurance jumps up. And I can tell you that we have a lot more traction when mom and dad get after them than when the deputies get after them. But it only takes 1 or 2 tickets for that to happen.
That would be great if just there would be a little bit of enforcement to sort of set an example, and so that some of these people, and I presume maybe they are young guys, I don't know exactly, I don't see them. I can see their cars, but I don't necessarily see who's driving them. But that could be a deterrent, you know?
Well, I can tell you that 8 out of 10 people that we stop driving like that are under the age of 25. And it's, you know, a lot of them, especially teenagers, they slow down very fast when mom and dad see the insurance rates going up. I mean, because the parents have a much more positive effect on the children than what the police do. And numerous times I have stopped kids, and especially after the invention of cell phones, what's your dad's phone number? And when I call dad and say, your son was just doing this, they are more than happy to deal with that without a citation, because we're talking about their children's safety. And, you know, if we can't get a hold of the parents, yeah, sometimes it just deserves a citation, because mom and dad will get after them if they're under the age of 18, and a lot of them under the age of 21 who are still on their parents' insurance. So there's a lot of things that we can do to bring that down.
Okay, but is there a possibility of any type of citation as a deterrent for making excessive noise as opposed to just speeding?
Yeah, Don, there is an infraction section for having a modified exhaust for sure, and that's an easy citation to give. And if that's the problem that's causing a break in the peace or disturbance, then that's definitely something that can be issued. A quick question for you is also, I registered with GMAC for this Zoom meeting with my county email. Are you guys able to access that? Do you know?
I have not seen your county email, Lieutenant. We just see your name on here.
Okay. So I'm usually down in Gualala in that area. I try to make it at minimum once a week, and that's on Thursdays. Is kind of what I've set out to at a minimum. So I'm more than happy to stop by and talk to you guys and listen to, you know, what you got to say and the input you can provide. So I'll give you my email address right now, and is what I ask is if you guys just shoot me an email with your contact info,
Hmm.
And I can let you know either by email or I can call you when I'm down there. But
Great.
that email address is, if you're ready,
Yes.
Ready?
is Comer J, COMERJ at MendocinoCounty.org.
Okay, got it.
Comer.
And let me give you my cell phone number too, just in case. And that is 621-3801.
$801.
And I
Right.
just emailed Mary Lieutenant Comer's email address as well.
Okay. Good.
Perfect.
Thank you. You were both, Lieutenant Comer and Sheriff Kendall, you were both talking about speeding issues. Don mentioned Pacific Woods Road. Have you heard anything about speeding on Highway 1, especially now after the resurfacing project has happened south of Point Arena all the way to the south end of the county?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I ran into one of those lead foots last week and had a little chat with him. I drive an unmarked white pickup truck, so a lot of people like to pass me and drive like maniacs. And, you know, after the accident down there by my Beacon's place the other day, it is just too dangerous for people to be driving like that. The Highway Patrol, they've been very good about writing cites and things like that, but we have got a lot of people who are not coastal drivers, who are not from the area. And what concerns me is we've got some rain coming up this week after a long, hot summer, and these roads are going to be slick. And so we're going to continue, you know, making those stops, doing those enforcement contacts and things like that. 99% of the problems that I'm seeing were not people from the area. The fellow that I stopped, I believe he was actually from Redwood Valley. He was out for a drive, and you know, it's just concerning that we just had that accident down there, and now we've got people that are driving a little too quickly around Elk.
Yeah, I just am finding that resurfacing of which is a beautiful resurfacing project that they've done on Highway 1, it just kind of lures you into driving a little faster. The road surface is so smooth, and I've noticed it myself that I kind of go a little faster, so I got to watch it.
And just a little bit of rain on that road, especially the first one, before it washes off all that good slick stuff, that's going to be a problem. So
yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's
Tom.
like driving on ice. That first rain is like driving on ice because it's just raised all the oils up just so you can really slide around.
Yeah, I would think so, Melissa, especially on the new surfacing project, huh? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that my car wants to go a little faster, but the actual upshot is that I can drive the speed limit now and not have to worry about if I'm going to get a tire out of balance or something.
Yeah.
I have one question, if that's it's on a sensitive subject. Is the sheriff's office, when it's recruiting new members, is it actively working on ensuring that they do not hire anyone who is a member of a white supremacist group?
that would probably be one of the first things that would come up. If you've ever seen a sheriff's office background package, Department of Justice background package, as well as the polygraph and things like that, trust me, we'd know about it pretty darn quick. A lot of young people have tattoos nowadays. And that is, you know, one of the things that we look at. If they have tattoos, we look at 100% of those tattoos. And to be honest with you, it's a pretty easy thing to spot right off the get-go.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I know it's a problem all around the country.
You had a question.
Yeah,
Tom,
I had more of a comment since we were talking about speeding on Packwoods Road and Old Stage and Highway 1. Downtown Gualala, I've been doing quite a bit of work on the Streetscape project with Robert over the past year, and I would say the number one comment we hear is how do we get people to slow down? It's come up a lot recently. I've been collecting comments, and I would say 1 out of 5 people brings up the speeding issue. So I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to our streetscape discussion, but it's even our speed limit's 25, and coming down that hill from the north end of the town, even I live around the corner from it. And as soon as I get on that hill, I have to really put on the brakes to the annoyance of the people speeding down the hill behind me. So yeah, it's tough to keep it down to 25, but that's something that we really need to work on as a town, I think, and more signage, speed feedback signs. We're talking to Caltrans about the improvements coming up to make sure that it incorporates whatever they can to slow people down. A lot of people would like to see a traffic circle, but that's probably not going to happen as part of this project.
Well, and a lot of the engineering things that Caltrans is doing right now are to reduce speeds when you're coming into town. And years ago, I read about this phenomenon. If you're driving on a long straight road, like I don't know how many of you folks have been to Covelo, when you're driving on a long straight road and then suddenly you hit a town, it's a completely different story than driving on a curvy road and then suddenly you hit a big straight stretch.
Yeah.
You tend to speed up when you hit that straight stretch. Not for some reason your brain doesn't equate that, oh, I'm coming into a town, I need to slow down. It works to the opposite. I couldn't tell. I remember I read about it. It's actually a phenomenon, and they've done studies on this. And so one of the things that Caltrans does when they're putting together those traffic engineering things, they have things that battles that phenomenon that happens. But you can see, I mean, you're coming up the road to Gualala, and then just north of there, you hit the hill, and then all of a sudden, right before you, you've got this big, beautiful, long straight stretch, and it's almost like just second nature to step on the gas. I catch myself having to slow down before the fuel station's there.
Yeah, it's easy to do. And, you know, Caltrans is currently collecting comments for the next project that will be in downtown Gualala and involve that area. And I think I mentioned this a couple of months ago, Sheriff, and didn't follow up. My bad. But I'd love to get together with you and the lieutenant sometime, maybe when the lieutenant's down here, and just have a conversation about various hazards we have on the highway. I'd love to do that, lieutenants, next, maybe some Thursday coming up.
You bet.
Maybe get the CHP involved too, Tom.
Yeah, the CHP, I've had, you know, one-off conversations with them, and I think the area commander was here and I talked to him about it, and he was interested in participating in that too. It'd be great to get you both at the same time, but separately is good too, whatever works.
Yes, so Aaron Finnegan, he's the supervisor here on the coast with CHP, and he's a very proactive guy, and we work very well together. So I'll try to coordinate with him and see if he's available for next Thursday to maybe make the trip down there with me, and we can.
Yeah, next Thursday would be good. I think that would work well for me too. It's and my email is real easy, Lieutenant. It's GMAC 95445. GMAC and our zip code 95445.
Gualala zip code, that is.
At gmail.com.
All right.
And if you need to get somebody on the council, you can't find the other emails on our site or something, let me know and I'll relay it.
Very good.
I wanted to ask something about the COVID statistics that you were mentioning, Sheriff Kendall. And yeah, we have a low account down here on the South Coast. I heard you on that, but a lot of that probably is attributable to the fact that we also have a low population. Isn't that not so?
Well, actually, your population is much greater than Covelo.
Oh,
you are
okay.
doing way better than Covelo. The South
Okay.
Coast comprises roughly 2.5% of the total COVID for the county. Covelo has a much smaller population than the South Coast, and they have a much higher percentage than the South Coast. And so obviously it's what the citizens are doing.
Okay.
And so when we break this up and we look at it, South County, Boonville, Philo, Yorkville, Hopland, has roughly, I would say about another 20% residents than the South Coast. However, you know, they are 25% above you. And Covelo has, I would say, about 50% of the population of the South Coast. And they're about 75% above you. So if you look at it that way, you're doing pretty well.
Good to hear. Okay, I didn't. know the percentages. Melissa, Don, Tom, anybody else have any questions for the lieutenant or the sheriff?
No,
I know they're keeping plenty busy though, but great to have you here every month, you two.
Yeah, it's great to have you assigned to the coast, Lieutenant, and let us know what we can do to help you out down here.
All right, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Okay.
I'm going to sign off. My wife is texting me that supper is on, although this morning she told me I could stand to miss a few meals, so I'm getting a mixed message here. I'm sure that it'll be something light when I get home, but thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
Kendall,
Okay, Matt.
and thank you, Lieutenant Comer.
You guys.
All right,
Okay.
good night.
Good night.
good night.
Okay. That was interesting to hear. We'll move on to number 5 on the, no, number 4 on the agenda. Wait a minute, 5, yes. Timber Harvest Plan 1-20-00150-Mendocino. And that's California Department of Forestry, Gualala Redwood Timber Harvest. It's a timber harvest plan by Gualala River Timber, adjacent to the Little North Fork on the Gualala River. Dawn and I were going to report on this. It's there's a lot to know about these timber harvest plans. First of all, there's a lot to study. It's hard to navigate. First of all, you have to get a handle on navigating the it's called CalTree's website, and then you have to get in on all the documents. So it was a chore, but I learned a lot about the project. How about you, Don? Did you do some research on it?
No, unfortunately, I really haven't had time to do a little research. To do some by next meeting, but I will report that I have seen 2 logging trucks come out of that logging road near the Green Bridge from the North Fork or Little North Fork from that side. And I don't know whether this is from the logging plan we're looking at now or from an existing logging plan. I'm really not sure. But my understanding is that this logging plan we're looking into now is not 100% approved. They can't go ahead with it quite yet, or I'm not exactly sure about that.
What I learned, Don, was that they've done the pre-harvest inspection. Where are my notes? They did a pre-harvest inspection on it, and they've also done a first review. And then I guess they were waiting for some comments to come back, and those were overdue. I think they were from the registered professional forester. Like I say, I'm learning a lot just going into all the documents. I was first of all trying to locate it. And so I have a little bit of input I can give everybody on the location of it. And there's multiple points that they can gain access to these to this timber harvest area, by the way. I think off the ridge, there's a way to get there, off of Fish Rock Road, and then possibly even through by the Green Bridge there where you were talking about, Don. Right. But if you look at the aerial, I sent an aerial photo of this to Don. Maybe he hasn't seen it yet, but you all have been to the Fish Rock disposal site, correct?
Yeah.
And
yeah, that logging road starts from there and goes all the way to the Green Bridge.
Okay. All along the Little North Fork, I'm assuming. I haven't been along the entire stretch ever, but I know that the Little North Fork kind of originates on the back side of the ridge up south of, I want to say Fish Rock Road on the ridge there, and it winds its way easterly towards the Fish Rock Road disposal site, and then on down to the North Fork. Mm-hmm. And it's very, well, for our situation here in this community, it's pretty pristine area still, and it's one of the only areas left where there's good habitat for the steelhead and even for the salmonid, from what I understand. It's been relatively unscarred since way back when, I guess. And, you know, it's sad to see that some of these last remaining vestiges of habitat for the fish are being, so to say, attacked by the logging companies, knowing full well that, you know, there's still good timber in some of those areas. So I don't know, I need to study this a lot more, but I've been back there in my earlier years up here in Gualala, and I can still remember the days of where just beyond the fish rock dump site there, there was a area to get into this timber harvest plan, and there was a Gualala River steelhead project that was going on one of the tributaries up in there. And I'm thinking it was Doty Creek, but I'm not positive. But there was, I actually visited the site one time, and it was a very pristine, beautiful area to rear the young steelhead fish and then release them into the river. So I was concerned about that. I'm just concerned about the whole little North Fork area there. And I can also recall years gone by when I was chair of the Gualala Community Services District, and we created a program that was called the leachate program. And what that was all about, we created holding tanks up at the Gualala sewer plant. There was a lot of concern at that time about the dump. It was called the fish rock dump at that time, about all the water that would go through this garbage, all the stuff that had accumulated there over the decades, and that was leaching into the Little North Fork and that prime habitat for fish. And so the county originated this leachate program with the sewer district, and they would collect through ponds or lakes or whatever that was dug up at the dump site. They would collect the water that would leach through the garbage and then take it up to the sewer plant for treatment. So there was a lot of concern back when already about the dump site and what it might be doing to harm the habitat up there. So those were two things I just wanted to mention. The old Gualala River Steelhead project that originated up in that area, and then the leachate program that was developed with the county and the sewer district to collect that garbage, that bad water that was coming off the garbage from the dump site. So I don't get the feeling that there's going to be any logging going on in the winter, but I think we should keep this on the agenda and maybe study it a little bit more the coming months. Don, what do you think?
No, I agree. And within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have more time on my hands to look into some of this stuff.
Okay.
Now that you mentioned this leaching problem,
Leachate, yeah.
and program to try to mitigate it or eliminate it, I'm wondering if there's regular testing done to see if there's actual improvement.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to talk to the district manager at the sewer district. I think it's an ongoing program still. I know they have the holding tanks up at the sewer plant still to let this leachate slowly go through the aeration basin and to slowly get treated and processed. But what the results are, I wouldn't know. Tom, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'd like to share that map again. I'm just looking at it here, and as you were talking about that, I noticed the Fish Rock Road.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that turn for the dump is right around down here. So yeah, I could see that would be a concern.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's up here. The Little North Fork goes all along that for quite a while.
Yeah, I can.
There's the transfer station there.
Yeah, I can send this map out to all of you, Melissa, Tom, Don, if you'd like again.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it's, this is something I think would be great if you guys wanted to follow up and report back to the council in another month and maybe communicate with the CDF and others about, and the sanitary district about that. I also noticed that I don't know where the new GCSD districts that they were talking about would be, but it would be somewhere along Old Stage, I presume, and I don't know if there's a possibility of tying into that for this leach project you're talking about. There might be a connection there.
No. I think that's much too great a distance. And
Okay.
what's been doing, they truck the leachate to the sewer plant. The sewer district might expand, hopefully will expand up to the ridge, which is zones 3 and zones 4, then maybe even reach up north to the Ocean Ridge subdivision. But this would be too far away, I think, Tom.
Yeah, I think you're right. If it's
So
just up to Ocean
I
Ridge.
just would like to look into seeing if that leachate program is still going on. And I'll do that.
Be good to know.
May I suggest that someone write CAL FIRE and tell them that this will be researched and discussed at the December meeting, and that there will be some input at that time about what GMAC feels. Otherwise, you know, they might write off GMAC as someone that's not going, or some organization that's not going to comment on this.
Okay. Yeah, I hope Don and I can we'll get a little bit more time now in the next month, and we'll review this further, Mary, and then hopefully we can write him a letter.
No, I'm just saying that someone should let them know in the next day or two that it was discussed at this meeting, and then GMAC will do more research and then get them a disposition on the CHP after the December meeting.
Mm-hmm. Well, from what I studied online, Mary, it looks like they've had the preliminary harvest inspection, and then they've had a first review, and now it's kind of stalled. So I think they're waiting for comments. So maybe you're right. Getting a letter sent to them here shortly to let them know that we reviewed it tonight and that we'd like to give further comment would be a good idea. So let me look at the program a little bit more and see who we could write a letter to. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, you know, whatever their department is, but otherwise they might think that GMAC is not interested in any input and then go from there.
Yeah. I'll call.
And then ignore what you say after the December 3rd meeting.
There's the Department of Forestry down in Santa Rosa on Ridgeway Drive. I know the exact location. Maybe I can give them a call and get a little bit more information, and I'll do that. Okay.
Yes, that's the office to which you should address any concerns regarding this THP.
Right there by the Santa Rosa JC. I've been there before. Yeah. Okay. I'll call them, Don, and I'll let you know what I find out. Okay, Don.
Yeah, we can coordinate on that, Robert.
Okay.
Because our default on anything that affects the Gualala River and our Gualala water is no, don't do a timber cut there.
Yeah, it's getting precariously
Don't
close.
pollute our drinking water.
Yeah.
Hands off.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on this for the time being? We should keep it on the agenda, Mary.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on then to number 6A. Do we have any old business? Okay, hearing none, we'll go right away to 6B. Under 6B, we have the GCAP Ad Hoc Committee. And as we mentioned earlier in the correspondence, we received a letter from Caltrans making us aware of the Streetscaping Town Hall meeting on the 14th of January, 2021. You want to say something else about that, Tom? You want to do that?
Yeah, I would just say that in addition to that, probably a more important part is the Caltrans it says the Caltrans project team has taken previous project comments and is working on a new alternative for community consideration.
Okay, yep.
This was, I hope that they are considering all the input they've gotten recently on this. But when Frank spoke to us in August with Nafili, that memorable meeting, they mentioned that the alt 3 that they were working on at that point had run into engineering problems. They were going to sit down with the project team and talk about alternatives. We have not heard word one since then about what those are, despite repeated requests. And this next project will be revealed in mid-December, they say, on the District 1's YouTube channel with early access to the project's online survey. So starting in mid-December, they're going to start taking comments through YouTube channel and access to the survey. And then in January, they're going to have a meeting from 5 to 7 on the YouTube channel. To be in that meeting, you need to contact Caltrans. The email address is gualaladowntown at dot.ca.gov. Gualala downtown at dot.ca.gov, and tell them that you'd like to participate in the meeting, and that is the way that you would get to weigh in at the meeting in their online survey. If you don't do that, they won't necessarily let you. You won't be on their list. So I'll just pass that along as part of this announcement.
And I think they're still taking comment all the way up to December 15th, are they not?
It does not say that, but it does say that a public survey will be held to gather input and comments about the new project design alternative that will be announced. A preview of the meeting presentation will be made available in mid-December with early access to the project's online survey. It does not say we're continuing to take comments till then. However, that was the impetus for my private communication to, on behalf of Save Gualala, the petition, to GMAC, Caltrans, and MCOG.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that they got some input, and Change.org sent me the names of people who had signed the petition, which is now up to about 1235, and 90 comments that some of which were quite poignant and important for Caltrans consideration, I believe.
So that Save Gualala petition has been circulating, and it tends to be a position that's very similar to the position that the council took at the August meeting.
Yeah, that's correct. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. Has gotten very broad support in the community. And by the way, you'll remember last year, the surf market circulated a petition, got over 1,000 signatures. That petition was very vague. It basically said that it was concerned about the parking conditions for the surf market, and it called on Caltrans to develop an alternative. It didn't really talk about specifics of that alternative. So this petition, the people who signed it, basically it does address the potential for need of parking on an interim basis at the surf. So it is an alternative. It does propose an alternative project very specifically. So I would say that in addition to the 1,200 people who signed this one, their idea there also supports the concept of the petition that was circulated last year by the surf market.
And I feel this petition is also, or concerns the community-wide interests much broader than just a specific property owner. It also addresses the Gualala town plan issues more in depth. So I'm glad to hear that the Save Gualala petition is garnering a lot of support and signatures.
Yeah, they've also created a Save Gualala Facebook page, and there's a lot of people on there saying thank you for publicizing this.
Okay. So I think we're in a holding pattern until that new alternative comes out in mid-December. Do we have anything else we want to bring up at this time on this ad hoc committee, Tom?
I do not. Perhaps somebody else does.
Melissa or Don, do you have any questions?
No.
Or comments? No? Melissa?
We're going to discuss the letter that you sent.
The letter I sent was basically to notify Caltrans, MCOG, and GMAC. Copies went to each council members and to Mary for the files. and also copied in the Coastal Commission, County Planning, County Supervisors, and the MCOG Council itself, council members, some of whom have taken note of this project. I think it's important that we gather as much input as we can and feed it into them. And I've been working on that on a personal level. I want to say that again.
Right.
That is not a contradiction to any role I play on GMAC, and I'm quite able to separate those issues and consider any issues that come before the council separately, as I always have on this project. And I've talked to the county council to verify that that's an appropriate course. We do sit on this council because we have opinions and because we help to give voice to the community. So helping to work on that project, I've gathered quite a lot of input from the community, and it's very interesting to hear it. And I hear it all. I don't always agree with it all, but I can tell you that out of the 90 comments, there were several, probably about 1 in 5, 1 in 4 maybe, that are basically don't do anything, leave it the way it is, go out of, and we don't want a Caltrans project. There are, I would say the bulk of them are comments that are along the lines of what we heard at our council, that we should stick to the town plan and go through a 3-lane project. And there's actually talk in the petition about supporting the Caltrans position, or the Caltrans, or I'm sorry, supporting the GMAC position, or the GMAC supported their position, that GMAC adopted a similar plan. I have not seen any comment saying that anybody wants 2 lanes of parking along Highway 1 for the length of the town. There has not been a single comment along that line.
Okay, we will take this matter up again in December at our meeting, okay?
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, Tom. Don, Melissa, we'll move on. Okay.
No questions, comments for me.
Okay, we'll move on to 6C then. The PSPS and Emergency Preparations Ad Hoc Committee, which is just on at the moment.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
Our little guide is, of course, on the website, and I have no idea how many people are actually downloading it and using it.
Okay.
So, but it's there.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go on to 6D, Housing and Economic Development Standing Committee, and that's just Tom Murphy at the moment. Relocation Incubator, it says. Anything on
Are
that?
you incubating eggs?
Am I what?
Incubating eggs.
Yeah, well, sort of. Yeah, we're hatching
Are
businesses.
you raising layers or fryers?
Yeah, we're trying to. I was the lead of a 6-person team working with the resiliency folks on a countywide basis. Some folks from Covelo, Redwood Valley, Laytonville, otherwheres, and Fort Bragg. Developing a proposal, one of many proposals that the resiliency team is looking at as a possible way to help lift the economy. And we turned in the draft of that. It's actually like a 9-page business plan to the committee that oversees the resiliency effort, and they are reviewing it even as we speak. I don't know if that'll come to fruition, but it was basically along the lines of there are a lot of people who don't have even basic business knowledge, but suddenly they're finding themselves out of work and they're saying, hey, can I start a landscaping business? Can I start a food truck? You know, people want to start a business when times get hard, and quite often they end up in debt and in much greater dire straits if they don't know what they're doing. 9 out of 10 businesses are I think it's 70% of businesses fail within 5 years. And half of them go out of business the first year. And a lot of people end up in debt because they took out loans or mortgaged their house or did something else that was not, seemed like a good idea at the time. So this is an idea of starting a really crash course of 12 weeks to give people the business basics let them understand the liabilities and risks, let them understand the debt and finance situation, let them understand permitting requirements, employment laws, all that kind of thing, um, on a one-on-one basis, and a lot of hand-holding to help people understand the very basic elements, and a specific outreach to some of the minority communities, which may be have even greater obstacles facing, particularly among the Native populations and our Latinx population, and women who find themselves single moms and such, single parents who are raising kids and suddenly find themselves out of work, out of money, out of time, and they think, well, what can I do to start a business? So I hope this moves forward. There are a few other very good proposals that I've seen, and I haven't seen them all. And along that line, there is a resiliency meeting coming up. I've sent you an email to each member of the council, and I'd be happy to share it with anybody in the audience and the public that would like to attend this meeting. It is on November 10th at noon. Una will be hosting it. It is put on by Move 2030, which stands for Mendocino Opportunities for a Vibrant Economy. And basically, they're trying to get community feedback on how best to move the county forward in an equitable, resilient, and sustainable way. So they're looking for community leaders who would like to participate. I sent it to other GMAC members. I'll be on the call myself. And I don't know, it'll be mostly about economic resiliency. So, and there'll probably be a lot of people on the call. So I don't really know what the format will be like, but I believe it's a 1 hour call. Oh no, it's a 2 hour call, noon to 2 on November 10th. So if you're interested, you have that email in your inbox. I just sent it out a little while ago. And then what was the third thing I wanted to mention? It's never a dull moment for housing and economic development. Relocation. Not too much going on there, but the Una and some of the real estate folks in Humboldt, I believe Del Norte County is in this, and Mendocino. We're working with select realtors they're working with. Una was going to go down to Silicon Valley and meet with some of the big tech companies who have people moving up here. And the idea, this touches on something we were talking about earlier today, Robert, is to make sure if people move up here, they have the right mindset for the different areas. So if they're moving to somewhere up the coast, they don't know anything about up the coast. So this is kind of to help them pick out a community that might be right for them. For example, if they want to go to Starbucks every day, they're not going to be real happy in Gualala. If they're looking for really great schools, with all due respect to my friend Warren Galletti, they're probably not going to want to bring their kids here. So they may want to go to a different community, and this is to help them know if you like to be away from it all, if you like nature, if you like hiking and kayaking and the river, Gualala may be a great place for you. So it's helping people find the right place to settle in and relocate if they're interested. Robert can tell you, and I've heard from many realtors, that the market is just smoking hot right now. Houses aren't lasting long on the market. A lot of interest from people in the Bay Area. Prices in the inland areas in Petaluma and such are just soaring, with people offering $40,000 to $80,000 over asking price. Is the latest thing I heard. So we're getting into that kind of era, and we don't have a lot of housing stock here. And we also want to be sensitive to the idea that when people come from the outside, sometimes they want to change everything right away, and people in Gualala kind of like it the way it is. So I think that's a consideration people want to have when they come here, is they have to have a respect for what Gualala is and what people here want it to be. So I just thought I'd mention all that just to keep you abreast of some of the stuff I do in my spare time.
Incubating businesses.
Incubating businesses, relocating workers, and spending a lot of time on Zoom calls with Una and the gang. Marianne Price, some of the supervisors come on there. Brent Schultz from the planning department is quite active in that effort. It's an interesting group of people. And then I've met a lot of people who are just, there's a couple of MAC members. There's a couple of people working nonprofits. There's a couple of people who are entrepreneurs, who I've gotten to be friends with from working on this project, and I have a lot of respect for people. And it's also interesting just to hear the commonality of problems that people in Gualala have and people in Covelo have, for example. So very similar issues.
Because they're little smaller communities. I would think a lot more of this that you're talking about, the business startups and things like that, would be happening in Fort Bragg, Willits, and Ukiah. And if those personalities that you're talking with, I would think Gualala is kind of set in its own ways, and there's only so much you can do here. But,
yeah, it's actually, given the, you hear about all the tech workers working from home now. Really, anybody can work from home. I worked today for a company in Pennsylvania, helping them with a webinar they were holding. It's a global webinar. They had people from all over the country on that call, and I was monitoring that this morning. So there's an awful lot of things that people can do from their homes these days, running businesses and providing services. And, you can do bookkeeping, for example, from just about anywhere.
Right.
So why not do it from Gualala?
But some of the small businesses that I know of, okay, like here in my own complex, the restaurant, the Taqueria del Sol, or the landscaping businesses that we see in town, or the cleaning, the people that are actually hands-on working, landscaping, tree removal, those are all hardworking individuals that somehow have carved their own way, incubated their own way, so to say, and established businesses here in our local community.
Yeah, I think that's right, and more power to them. I think any one of them, if you ask them, they'll say they had a steep learning curve when they started. And for every one of those you see, there are 7 to 10 companies that started, or people who started businesses like that and lost their shirt.
Yeah.
And ended up in debt, lost money that they had in their savings, maybe took out an extra mortgage on the house, maybe borrowed from friends and family, and just never got off the ground with it. How many times have you seen a restaurant go into business and go out of business 6 months or a year later? One of the toughest restaurant businesses to run is a restaurant.
Right. We saw it on Antonio's up the road, right?
Good example. They obviously put a lot of love and effort and money into that place.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, life intervened and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And now it's for sale and has been for a while. And I hope all our storefronts that are vacant right now get filled up. That's not an uncommon problem. I was in San Rafael last week, and it seemed like 1 out of 4 storefronts on 4th Street in San Rafael was vacant.
Really?
Yeah, it's really getting pretty bad in the Bay Area.
But we do have a new pharmacy.
We have a new pharmacy. Yes, we do. And that's a good thing. But there's, I'd like to see the hotel thriving. I'd like to see our hotels full. I'd like to see our restaurants full, not only on weekends, but every night of the week. I'd like to see our community organizations, when they have a fundraiser, involve some of our restaurateurs so that everybody profits from that, instead of doing a spaghetti feed from the community, the community center kitchen or something.
I don't want to see our restaurants full, because that will raise our COVID numbers.
Well, when we get over this hump, hopefully we'll find new ways to work with the health conditions. Several of them have been very creative in their solutions, and I applaud them for that. Taqueria del Sol has a little patio dining table set up. View has outside tables. Cove Azul. I've eaten there on the patio there. I remember I was sitting at the table next to Sharon a few months ago, sitting there having lunch with Una. So, I think we've seen a lot of creativity in response to this, but it's really, I don't want to, you can't stop worrying about our local businesses. We really have a crisis here. We're not alone in it. We're going to get to the end of this tunnel. But right now, I think all of us just need to do everything we can to support the businesses in town. And as we move forward, everything we do on GMAC, I hope that we think about it in terms of the future economic development of Gualala and keeping our businesses alive, because they really need our our help, and it's input we don't get a lot on GMAC. I would love to have more input from our local business owners, and I know when I've had committee meetings with them, we get a lot of interesting input. We got input on the Streetscape project from them. That challenged the things we read in the county report on Streetscape, and became part of the doctrine of what we follow here at GMAC. We've gotten input from them on schools, on landscaping, on all sorts of things that affect Gualala. And I think holistically, we need to think about the people here needing to make a living and supporting them and not making Gualala out of their price range. We need to think about housing for their workers, training for their workers. These are all things that exist in this county, and we can help facilitate those relationships. And that's a lot of what I spend my time on the HEC committee. As Melissa can remember, we talked about a lot of this stuff at the meeting she was attending.
Okay.
Anyway, that's more time than I intended to take tonight, so I'll cut it off there.
That's a lot
Well,
of
I
information.
just want to comment that we have a new old store that the loft is going out of business, but someone bought it. So
Which one are you referring to, Melissa?
the loft, the
yeah.
fabric,
Okay.
fabric, yarn, and art supplies.
Right. Is it going to
So
stay?
it did not go out of business.
Oh, good. Just she sold to somebody else that's continuing the business, right?
Yes, they've just opened it in the last few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good to see.
Reopened.
Yeah.
You know, if I could just throw out one more thing here, this has been on my mind for a while, and I would like the council just to think about this and maybe talk about it at a future meeting and invite some members of the business community to be here and testify on it. Or maybe I'll have a committee meeting, just a Zoom call, and invite them to come. But I think it'd be good to hear from some business owners in town on this subject. And that is, the city of Fort Bragg recently passed an ordinance limiting, I forget what they call it, but I call them chain stores. And they basically passed an ordinance that restricts the opening of new chain stores. Now, Fort Bragg has no shortage of drive-in restaurants and coffee shops, but they think that they have enough or too many, and they want to restrict future ones. When you have a chain store, you know, we got some input on this in our committee meetings and roundtable discussions earlier this year. It hurts local businesses. That's taking profit and sending it out of town. You know, and you have somebody a franchisee who puts a life savings into opening some kind of burger joint that's not selling healthy food, that's competing with our local homemade food, that's shipping profits out of town and paying workers as little as they can. And I think that, you know, it's pretty hard to open a franchise in a town like Gualala because it's so small, but it might be smart for us to take some action or take a position on this before it becomes an issue, before somebody comes and applies to open what have you along Highway 1. Maybe it'd be good if we get on the record with the county planners and just say, hey, we'd like to see an ordinance like this. So that's something we could talk about at a future meeting. But please give that some
I thought it was already in the town plan that franchises are not allowed here.
No, it's not. It's not that explicit. It talks about that we have very few. We do have a couple. The gas stations, for example, are technically chain kind of businesses. But,
okay, no chain store restaurants.
Well, you know, it's not that simple. It's a pretty complicated issue, but I think the first step is hear from the business community and see what they think.
Right.
Okay, I thought the town plan was quite explicit about no chain store restaurants.
Nope.
Where are you referring to in the town plan? I'd like to see what you're referring to there, Melissa. What part of it?
Okay, I can't tell you which part I'm referring to. That's why I said I thought the town plan said no chain store restaurants. Obviously, we're allowing chain stores. We've got a True Value. We've got to have a hardware store.
What I was
But
gonna
no
bring up,
restaurant.
we have a True Value, and we had an
Restaurant.
Ace. We had an Ace hardware store too at one time. I
Yeah.
think they're both True Value hardware now, aren't they?
But no McDonald's, no Starbucks, no In-N-Out burgers, no
We got to stop
Burger
before
King.
it comes. You're right, everybody. I think we could do some preventative stuff on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that report, Tom. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you. I'm sorry it took so much time. I didn't mean to.
No, we're doing really great tonight. Anything else? Well, let's move on then to 6E. Do you have anything on the electric vehicle charging station issue, Don?
Nothing further. I actually have not heard anything from the FreeWire people. I have a feeling it kind of fell through on their end in terms of them getting funding to allow them to do this, because I think they weren't going to do it unless they got some funding from PG&E. I have a feeling that fell through because I heard a while back that all those funds available from PG&E for this type of a program were allocated. So maybe they didn't get any. I'm not sure. But within the next week or two, I may try to pursue something through Electrify America, because I think, Tom, you mentioned that Volkswagen, as part of its settlement related to that scandal regarding their engines and pollution,
Right. Mm-hmm.
they are allocating a fairly substantial amount of money to electric charging stations and the promotion of electric vehicles. And perhaps, we could get them interested in doing something in Gualala. But there again, our big problem that we've run into before is citing something like this. Where do we put it? There doesn't seem to be any public property per se available. So we're all dealing with private entities who don't seem to want to give up parking places, or just are not interested. Anyway, Tom, yeah.
Yeah, here's my advice on that. It's a complicated subject, and the best way to do it is to take it one step at a time. Reaching out to the automakers who are all developing electronic cars, and they can't sell them unless there's ways to charge them. Reaching out to, like, Volkswagen would be one of them, but I think all the automakers now have big plans to make electric cars. California's committed to having getting rid of the ICE engines by 2035.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have that infrastructure. And these companies that are out there building these things, they have a lot more experience building these things than we do. So instead of learning from the bottom and trying to figure out what we need to do to entice them, I think the way to do is reach out to people who are putting them in and saying, we don't know a lot about this, but we'd sure like to have one of these. And let them work with local landowners. Let them work with the public properties that are available. We do have a couple. There's things that we may not think about, like the AT&T property. They may want to get involved in this. And we can help them. We can tell them it's a friendly community. We'd like to support this. Merchants, may want to do this on private property because, dang, you got this car parked in front of your house for, half an hour or an hour or 2 hours. So I think there's a lot of good reasons that we can get other people to do a lot of the heavy lifting if we just show a lot of interest up front. Again, just a reminder, I think it was the city of Willits, kind of took this approach. They kind of went out to Volkswagen, I think it was, and said, hey, we heard you're doing this thing. And guess what? They now have a fast charging station in Willits that they worked on at the city level. And they didn't do anything special. They just basically called up Volkswagen, and Volkswagen came in and said, yeah, we'd like to put one there. That sounds good.
Yeah.
We're a good place for it. We're a commercial center, a long way from anywhere on Highway 1. People come up here with whatever car they have, and they're going to need to charge it. And we really don't have a way to facilitate that now. Don't forget the hotels, the motels. You know, if I'm running the Acme Motel and you're running the Beta Motel, and I have an electric charger and you don't, and people see that, they're going to stay at the Acme. So sorry about that, Don, but I stole your customer. You know, and that's the way it is in the business. You want to attract those customers. So the hotels are actually motivated to have these things. It makes sense.
I understand all those arguments, of course. And as a matter of fact, as an example of what you just cited, I think the Wildflower Motel in Point Arena has 1 or 2 charging stations now. You know, but I suspect they put them in from the get-go. Just that was part of their design. They have solar panels and everything. I mean, it looks like they did it right from the ground up because it's a new facility.
When I drove by there, Don, it looked like they had more than 2.
More than 2?
It looked like 3 or 4 for some reason along that one wall there.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and as far as Willits goes and their fast charger, the last time I checked with, I actually looked on Electrify America and they mentioned Willits, but apparently it's not up and running yet. So it looks like it's planned for Willits, but it's not there yet. I'd be curious to find out exactly where they're putting it, on what property, what type of property. Now, Willits is a city, so there's probably some city land there that they could put it on.
Oh, give the city manager's office a call.
Yeah. Well, if I had.
But Tom brought up the AT&T building here in town. I mean, that's a small property here across the street from me, but I could see that being a potential spot, Don. Maybe a shared use with AT&T since there's nobody ever there.
They'd probably love it.
But then when they do need to go there, then they got their big AT&T trucks that they need to park on the site. So then that would be a conflict, I would think. But as far as VW goes, who would you how would you find out more about that? Online?
I'd start calling the city of Willits and ask them who they talk to.
Good idea. I'll get involved a little bit on that. I got a VW. I'll check it out.
If any of you guys know of somebody in Willits, I'll be happy.
I think I gave you the number for the city manager's office one time, didn't I?
Possible. A long time ago, I don't remember now. But.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, basically just Google City of Willits city manager and go from there. I think they had a business development person too. But you know, I would just call those offices until you find somebody who can direct you in the right direction, and you're going to find somebody there who knows all about this,
sure,
and can give you an encyclopedic view of this in no time.
Okay, we'll keep this on the agenda. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, definitely keep it on the agenda.
You bet. Okay, thanks, Don. We'll move on to item F, Telecommunications Ad Hoc Committee. And that's both of you, Don and Tom.
The only thing I have is to report our YouTube views last month were 103, which is respectable. It's not a high, it's not a low. Our top story last month was the Caltrans Streetscape discussion that we put on. Accounted for about, well, it was basically the thing that people were watching the most on the last month. Don't think I have anything else to report on that, and we haven't made any real progress on the website this month. I think you just sent me some links on that, didn't you, Don?
I set you up as a user, and the system should have sent you a notification that you were set up as a user.
That's what I got. It was a little confusing, so I'll take another look at that.
Yeah, but I don't think it. And I set a password for you, but it should not have sent you a password through mail.
I think it asked me to reset my password, so that's why I was a little confused. I didn't want to reset it and lock you out.
Maybe it would allow you. No, you're not going to lock me out by resetting your own password.
I'll find it again and follow up with you.
Because we have separate accounts, but we should each be administrators.
Okay, good.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Moving on to item G, Water Ad Hoc Committee. That's Don and myself. As you guys know, we formed a Water Ad Hoc Committee, and that consists of Don and myself. We had our first committee meeting this past mid-October to review matters concerning water. And there's not a whole lot of good news to report on the water situation here in our area. We're again seeing this longest stretch of months where we've had such low flows. I've never, in all the years I've been here, seen such a low flow on the North Fork. So we are needing to pay or bring more attention to this matter. And I don't know how much the water company's doing, but like I say, Don and I met for the first time now. And, you know, I'm working on a letter that I'd like to get out to the agencies to see how aware they are of things. Just looking at the USGS website again this earlier today, and just to support the idea that we've never been down to these low levels before. To my knowledge, 1.65 cubic feet per second today at 1 o'clock on the North Fork. And that's been going on since roughly the middle of July. We've been consistently getting below, further and further below the 4 cubic feet per second, or the 4.25 cubic feet per second, which is what the bypass flow requirement is. That's what sets in the restrictions to bring in the mandatory conservation for the water company and for the State Water Resources Control Board. So yeah, with this is like a timber harvest plan type of thing. It needs a lot of work, a lot of studying, a lot of in-depth type of you know, research. So Don and I will keep on working on that. And you know, these are unprecedented times, and this is there's some dire consequences if we make this river extinct and just, you know, we all love the Gualala River and we got to keep the water in there. So somehow we've got to learn or figure out how we're gonna. When was our last rains? We had a nice little rain back in April, I think it was, where the flows went up quite a bit, and then in May we had a storm event. We've got to be able to find a way to capture the water during those times so that they'll get us through these low flow times. And I'm telling you, 4 or 5 months of extremely low flows like this, there's something's changing out there, I think, and we all know what that means. Does it mean rationing water? What does it mean? Is it the climate change that's affecting us so strongly? Please chime in, Don, or anybody else on this matter.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Robert, that you mentioned the timber harvest plan. I think in terms of protecting the biodiversity of our forests and the quality of water in the river, and actually even the availability of water in the river in dry months, you can't really disassociate timber harvesting from these issues, because they are connected. So timber harvest especially in the flood zone of the river or along some of the slopes near the river, do affect the availability of water during dry months and the quality of that water. So I think these are real issues. Climate change obviously is now impacting us. These drier years we're having now, especially this year, this could be the new normal. And you know, so really the solution is then much larger than what we can do. And so that points to the importance of very serious and important action on a state and a national and a global level to try to limit the potential damage that this kind of climate pattern can and will impose on us in a climate, a coastal climate that we have, where there are limited water resources to begin with. Basically, it's only in the winter when we have water, and there's no natural storage like in the Sierras. Sierra's a natural storage tank for water. That's great for those areas that can access that, but we can't. So we're totally dependent on winter rains and whatever flows in the summer. And that summer flow is from either springs or from water that is shed from the hillsides, because the hillsides in a forested area is just a big sponge. And in the summer, it releases some of that water and that keeps the rivers flowing.
Mhm.
So I think it's a complex issue, environmental issue that we're faced with here with the rivers. And I think it's important that we try to keep an eye on this and push for measures to be taken that can protect the river and the biodiversity of this river as well. Not to mention the quality of the water, which we are dependent on. Yeah, Tom?
Yeah, I think a couple of months ago, we talked about the idea of either having a virtual or, as time passes, a in-person kind of seminar on the issue of water in the Gualala area and inviting in some state experts. Obviously trapping water runs into all kinds of state regulations and has impacts on the environment as well. So I agree with you about clear cutting hillsides. Now, let me play devil's advocate. If John Barrow were here, he'd be talking about, well, we got to have wood and you don't know what you're talking about, and we get the water from underground. But, my own feeling on it is you clear cut a hillside, the water runs off it fast, doesn't soak into that sponge that Don's talking about, and that water runs out to sea that much faster, and then you have a little trickle in the riverbed. That's not good for anybody. That's not good for the fish. It's not good for us. It's not good for the vegetation around here. So yeah, we do need better solutions, but I think we also need some expertise to come in from out of town and talk to us and educate our community and think about what we can do longer term. And let's not forget some great environmental groups here locally, notably Fogger,
Sure.
that can help us with that thinking and know who to invite in and help us devise a path to a more logical course here. I just don't want to, shoot off the top of my head on what I think should happen because, frankly, I don't know that much about it. And there's a lot of people that know a lot more than I do on that. So let's turn to them. Let's bring them in. Let's get the community involved. I think everybody in town is concerned about this as well, even though they don't talk about it very much.
I agree. Okay, so what kind of a time frame then would you look at in terms of putting together this type of a forum or online conference on water issues here in Gualala, touching on all these subjects that we've raised?
I think this is that's a great question for your committee. I'm going to toss it to you guys and let you work that out.
Yeah. Okay, Don. Inviting a speaker, first of all, maybe a local speaker, and then branching out from there.
Especially if we could get somebody from the state, water resources board or whatever, or some.
Yeah.
I would say don't bring them to a GMAC meeting. Bring it. Let's set up special meetings for them. Hold some committee meetings with them, and then see what they think about putting together a half-day seminar on a weekend when people can actually take some time and listen to the issues. Because I don't think it's probably something that we'd spend a half a day on.
Right.
Hearing different points of view and different ideas and what other communities have done and that kind of thing. I get pretty involved. So I'd love to have a sit down. I definitely dedicate a day of my life to listening to all that and coming up with some, hearing what the experts say and seeing what other communities have done and coming up with maybe some very innovative solutions that don't work anywhere but in Gualala. And again, let's not forget our business community because they're dependent on healthy river as well. It's one of the big attractions to Gualala is the river.
Right. No, this is great.
Yeah, I'd like to see a symposium of the state experts who know about how to build infrastructure, because it might come to the point where Gualala has to have a reservoir, not to get rid of the moratorium, but to keep the city from drying up and blowing away.
Right.
Because if we run out of water, the city's gone.
Right. Moratorium is way down the road. no, I like all this input because I hope to be able to continue with this letter that, you know, Don and I were addressing at our ad hoc committee and incorporating some of these ideas and these thoughts that you guys are coming up with, and asking somebody like the State Water Resources Control Board representative or something to attend maybe a Zoom meeting of Don and I that we have on the water issue before we brought more information to the council, like Tom was suggesting. Do it in committee first.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think we could do that.
Okay.
It's kind of like the, you know, the PSPS report that you guys put together. You guys did that on the committee level. It came up for review on the council, but really the nitty gritty hard work on that was at the committee level. And I think you came up with a great product there. I think this symposium could be another great product. And I think the community would really appreciate it. I know I would.
Okay. So a symposium, how does that differ from a forum?
Use any word you want.
Okay. That was Melissa's word, symposium.
One has fewer letters.
Okay. Okay. Well, good. There's plenty of work for us to do in all these committees, it's looking like. Okay, next, Mary's still around, right, Mary?
I'm here.
Okay. I ended up calling our local fire chief, Greg Warner, and he had said that you had been in contact with him also. So correct me if anything's misspoken here, but that's South Coast Volunteer Fire Department, the new boundary map, he still doesn't have a copy of that, he told me. And apparently it varies somewhat. So I'm curious if our jurisdictional boundary of GMAC will, I mean, it runs concurrent with that South Coast boundary. It always has. So if that's changed somewhat, then I guess our jurisdictional boundary for GMAC will also change according to that boundary change of the fire department. But he does not have a copy of it yet, is what he told me, Mary.
Yeah, he said he had about a 3-year-old copy that was enormous. I saw him when he was voting on Tuesday, and I pulled him aside after he'd cast his vote and asked him about this. And he said it was 2 or 3 years old. It was enormous. He would drop one by your office or at least talk with you regarding this.
Okay.
And I said, well, you know, they rewrote it, LAFCO and another one that he mentioned, and I forget what it was. Forestry Service or something, and he said he hasn't gotten a map from anybody, and they haven't contacted him or called him back. So maybe two people, you know, or two organizations, one GMAC and one the fire department, that rely on that district being drawn correctly should contact LAFCO and contact the fire, whatever, that redrew the map and say, hey, will you let us know what the who's going on? Because we depend on this boundary being drawn. And we haven't heard from you in 4 years.
If I get a chance, I know Greg is usually up at the firehouse on Fridays. I'll go and look at that 3-year-old map that he's referring to. First of all, that'd be the first step. And then go from there to try to obtain the latest copy of the fire district map.
Yeah, find out who has the current fire district map. If Greg,
apparently Greg has a 3-year-old one, Melissa. So we'll start from there. I'll make some time and look at that one and see how close it is to our existing boundaries for GMAC, which I have a GMAC boundary map somewhere that we've always been using, but it's got to start somewhere. And I think looking at that 3-year-old map of Greg's would be a good first step.
If you don't have one, Robert, I have a great big one, but it's 10 years old. And if he has a 3-year-old one, that is an upgrade from the 10-year-old one, that would be helpful. If the 3-year-old is just a reproduction of the 10-year-old, then we still have to get the new one from LAFCO.
Yeah, we need the current one.
Okay.
To be legal.
I've dealt with LAFCO before too. If I need to go there, let me start with Greg, okay?
Great.
Okay, well, that's just to give you guys a little update on what's happening on that new boundary map. Okay, moving on to number 7, Administrative Secretary Mobert's report.
Yes, I worked 20.98 hours. Materials were $6.48 for a total of $321.23. I didn't work as many hours this month as I had for the past 4 or 5 months, which is really great on the budget.
I got that invoice from you today, Mary. Thank you. And I wanted to, I know I got an email from you a week or so ago that they had paid you the big one.
Yes, they have paid me to date.
To date.
October's and everything else.
Okay.
So this is the only one that's going to be outstanding, and I goofed and got you the wrong one at first.
Yeah.
That didn't have the materials added in. So just shred that one and use the 321.23 as the final.
I got it right here in front of me. I will get that on to the county, okay? I'm glad you're current.
Thank you very, very much. And I'm glad I'm current too.
Okay. Great. How was the turnout at the community center on
We
Tuesday?
had about 125 people come in and vote provisional ballot because everyone was issued a mail-in ballot, so they had to either turn it in or have a reason why they didn't vote it. And then we had about 150 people come in with mail-in ballots and turn those in. So we turned in about 400, little less than 400 ballots.
Yeah.
Which was really great.
Okay, but not as busy as usual, right?
No, it's half as busy, half as many people coming in, but we were just as busy because everybody had to fill in all of the paperwork for a provisional ballot. And one gentleman walked away without voting because his vote would not be anonymous, as it is when you just sign the book, get a ballot, and throw it in with everybody else's. And he would have to either sign the provisional envelope with his address or sign the mail-in envelope with his address. And he would not do that because he had risked his life fleeing from a communist country so that they could not trace his vote and put him in jail for voting against the party.
Wow. Okay.
Did not want to cast anything but an anonymous vote.
Interesting.
And he was very disappointed that he could not vote or would not vote, and I was also very disappointed, but I understood completely why he did not vote.
I get you. Well,
very sad story.
hey, I know you've been doing that for a long time, and thanks for your service doing that all the time.
I had a wonderful crew. I had 8 people from the community. One gentleman who was very interested in GMAC. I thought that he would attend tonight. I did send him an agenda. He is interested in becoming a member, and his wife is interested in becoming a member of the Action Network board. And so they have just moved into the community, and it's really great. And then I had one teenage young man who stayed all day long as a greeter, and then finally was helping with voting in the very end. And he helped us close and went home about 9:30 in the evening. And he was not. He was just a volunteer. Everyone else is paid staff and sworn in. But he was not sworn in. He was only a greeter and kind of watching what was going on and learning. And he was absolutely a big help because he spoke fluent Spanish and could answer any questions that our Hispanic voters came in to ask. And he was a big help.
Okay, Mary, thank you for that report. Okay, and I'll get your invoice off here soon. Okay, on to number 8, Vice Chairman Murphy's report.
Yeah, I think I just want to use a moment tonight to remind Gualalans and anybody else who might be listening that our election system is unrivaled in the world. It's run by great people like Mary Mobert. Our neighbors are friends who dedicate their time and their efforts to giving us all the freedom to vote and to choose our leaders. And any leader who doesn't respect that process doesn't deserve to be in office. I know we're in a tense time in this country. I know even in our community, there's some division, and I just ask everybody to remain calm, to respect others, and to know that we'll get through this. We've been through tougher times in this country, and we will continue. I just looked up a couple of numbers. State of Georgia tonight. Joe Biden is 1,800 votes now behind Donald Trump with 1% outstanding and 5 million votes cast. 1,800 out of 5 million. The race is getting extremely tight, and somebody's going to end up being very unhappy about the results. Let's just try to stay calm through that period and remember that this is a country of free choice, and we will get through whatever comes. Thank you.
Okay, Tom, thanks for your report. No, I'm likewise amazed at what we're going through here on a national level. In fact, I wrote down a couple words here. I feel like it's a strange irony to be conducting our local municipal advisory council meeting while the nation's presidential election hangs in the balance. But here we are doing our thing, you know. So it's an amazing thing to witness, I tell you. Other than that, I was thinking about getting in contact with our local supervisor at some point in time, maybe in the new year after some of the streetscape stuff has been revealed to us. But there is this, I'm thinking there might be a backlog of applications for GMAC members. So I'll take that upon myself to check with him on that, okay?
Good idea.
But that's all I have on my report. We don't have any walk-see CDPs. So we might be making a record here for a short meeting. I don't know. Anybody else have anything else? Should we adjourn?
We should.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Oh, I want to.
make a motion that we adjourn.
Oh, we should continue a little longer. No.
Yeah. Are you getting sleepy, Melissa?
Okay. Hey, thank you all very much.
I've been sleepy.
Okay.
All right.
Melissa, Tom, Don.
Wait, we
thank
got
you.
to have a
Mary.
motion to adjourn.
Okay, who made the motion?
Melissa,
Melissa did? Who seconded it?
I'll second.
Tom seconds. All roll call or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're pretty much adjourned then. Thank
Melissa,
you.
Aye.
I guess I'll vote for that.
Before you leave, I need to ask you, please.
Good night.
Yes, yes, Mary.
I really need to know what to do about my.
Your connection, I hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. We'll have to have a separate call on that, Mary.
Oh, okay.
All right,
All
let's talk maybe tomorrow. I'll be
Okay,
around.
guys.
I've got to do something about this computer. I just 2 out of 8 or 9 are. It's bad.
All right, give me a call tomorrow and I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, I'm signing off. Thank you, Tom.
What's
Thank you,
your
Mary.
telephone number, Tom?
It's in your contact list.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you
Bye
guys.
now.
Take care.
Good night.
See you, Tom.
Bye-bye.